Sometimes the most meaningful moments arrive disguised as ordinary favors. I never thought that agreeing to help my neighbor's daughter with her college applications would awaken something in me that had been dormant for so long. What she shared? That quiet Tuesday evening surprised me, moved me, and reminded me of who I used to be before life taught me to make myself smaller. But let me start from the beginning and ask you this. What's your story? I find myself curious about the lives that intersect with mine, even briefly, even through words on a page. I'm Margaret, 58 years old, widowed 3 years now, living in a small coastal town in Maine where the lighthouse still guides boats home each evening. This is a place where the librarian knows your reading preferences and the baker saves you the last blueberry scone on Fridays. Predictable rhythms, gentle routines, a life measured in seasons rather than surprises. Next, Dr. Lives Elena, a single mother juggling 2 jobs while her daughter Sophia prepares for her senior year. I've watched Sophia grow from a curious 8-year-old who collected seashells on our shared beach to a thoughtful 17-year-old who always carries a worn leather journal. She's one of those young people who seem to carry the weight of the world in their eyes, old beyond her years. Last month, Elena appeared at my kitchen door just as the sun was setting. Paint still streaked across her work uniform from her afternoon shift at the hardware store. Her expression was tired but hopeful. "Margaret, I know this is a lot to ask, but Sophia's struggling with her college essay. You were an English professor before you retired, weren't you? Could you maybe look at what she's written?" I hadn't mentored a student in years, not since David passed and I retreated into my quiet routines. But something in Elena's voice and the memory of my own love for guiding young minds made me nod. "Send her over whenever she's ready." The next evening, Sophia knocked softly. She stood there in an oversized cardigan and paint-stained jeans, clutching a laptop bag and looking uncertain. "Hi, Mrs. Chen. Thank you for doing this. I really don't know where to start." "Call me Margaret," I said, opening the door wider, and writing is always about starting somewhere, even if it's messy. We settled in my study, surrounded by books that had been my companions for decades. She opened her laptop and showed me what she'd attempted. Fragments of sentences, deleted paragraphs, the digital equivalent of crumpled papers. Her frustration was visible in the tension of her shoulders, the way she kept pushing her hair behind her ears. "What do you want to write about?" I asked gently. She was quiet for a long moment. "I don't think my story is interesting enough. I haven't traveled anywhere exotic, or started a charity, or won any major awards." I recognized that doubt, that voice that whispers we're not remarkable enough to deserve attention. "The most powerful stories are often the quietest ones," I told her. "What matters to you? What keeps you awake at night thinking?" Something shifted in her expression. She began talking about her photography, how she spent hours capturing the way morning light fell through the pier's weathered boards, how she noticed things others missed. Her voice grew stronger as she described finding beauty in overlooked moments. "I have this project," she said hesitantly. "I've been photographing the elderly residents at the care center where I volunteer. Not formal portraits, but candid moments. Mrs. Patterson feeding the stray cats. Mr. Rodriguez teaching me to play chess. The way Mrs. Kim's face lights up when she talks about her garden in Korea." As she spoke, her whole demeanor transformed. The uncertain teenager disappeared, replaced by someone passionate and purposeful. I found myself leaning forward, genuinely moved by her compassion and artistic vision. "That sounds like a beautiful project," I said. "Have you shown these photographs?" "To anyone?" She shook her head. "I didn't think anyone would understand what I was trying to capture." "I'd love to see them," I said, and meant it completely. She hesitated, then opened a folder on her laptop. Image after image filled the screen, black and white photographs that captured not just faces, but souls. The intimacy of ordinary moments elevated to something profound. I was stunned by her talent, her eye for emotional truth. "Sophia, these are extraordinary. You have a real gift." She blushed, the kind of deep surprise you see when someone isn't used to recognition. "Really? You're not just being nice?" "I'm being honest," I assured her. "This is your story, this connection you make with people, this ability to see and capture dignity in every stage of life." We worked for 2 hours, shaping her experiences into an essay that reflected her authentic voice. As the evening progressed, our conversation drifted beyond college applications. She talked about feeling caught between childhood and adulthood, about the pressure of choosing a future when the present felt overwhelming. I shared stories from my teaching years, how I'd watched countless students find their paths. You remind me of someone I used to know, she said quietly. My grandmother. She died when I was 14, but she used to tell me that everyone has a story worth telling. She sounds wise, I replied. And she was right about you. When she packed up her laptop that night, she paused at the door. Thank you for listening. To me. Really listening. Most adults just want to fix things or give advice. Sometimes being heard is enough, I said. You're going to do wonderful things, Sophia. After she left, I sat in my study surrounded by the silence that had become my constant companion. But it felt different somehow, less empty and more expectant. Her words echoed in my mind. You really listened. When had I stopped listening so carefully? When had I begun to withdraw from the world of young voices and dreams? The next morning, I found myself paying attention differently. I noticed the teenager at the coffee shop who always sat alone, writing in a notebook. The young man at the grocery store who handled produce like he was arranging flowers. The girl walking her elderly neighbor's dog with patient tenderness. Sophia returned the following week with a revised essay, but also with more photographs. She'd started a new series, she explained shyly, portraits of community members at their daily work, the postal worker sorting mail with methodical care, the kindergarten teacher reading stories with theatrical flair, the maintenance worker, who always whistled while painting over graffiti. I realized something, she said. After talking with you, I understood that everyone has dignity. Everyone has worth. I want my photography to show that. As autumn deepened, our weekly sessions became something I looked forward to with increasing anticipation. We'd moved beyond college preparation to genuine mentorship. Sophia would bring new photographs, new observations about light and shadow, about capturing authentic moments. I found myself remembering why I'd loved teaching, the joy of watching minds expand and voices strengthen. One evening, she brought something different, a small wrapped package. This is for you, she said. Don't open it now. Wait until after I leave. When she was gone, I carefully unwrapped it. Inside was a matted photograph, a candid shot of me that she must have taken without my notice. I was sitting in my garden reading, with afternoon light filtering through the apple tree above me. But it wasn't just a snapshot. Somehow she'd captured something essential about me, something I'd forgotten was there. I looked peaceful, content, but also alive with intelligence and warmth. On the back, she'd written, "To Margaret, who taught me that the most important stories are about truly seeing each other. Thank you for seeing me." I held the photograph. For a long time, tears blurring my vision. When had I last felt so understood, so valued for who I really was rather than who I was supposed to be? Winter arrived early that year, and with it came acceptance letters. Sophia had been admitted to several excellent programs, including her top choice for photojournalism. The scholarship she'd earned would let her pursue her dreams without the burden of overwhelming debt. On her last visit before graduation, she brought her final portfolio, a collection that included not just the elderly residents and community workers, but also images from our months together. The evolution of her vision was evident in every frame. You changed how I see the world, she told me. Before, I thought worth was measured by achievement, by being special or different. You showed me that worth is in the seeing itself, in the connections we make. I walked her to the door that final time, knowing our regular evenings together were ending. She was moving forward into her bright future, as she should. Take care of yourself, Margaret, she said, giving me a hug that felt like a blessing. Take care of your gift, I replied. The world needs people who see the way you do. After she left, I sat in my study, but not in sadness. The silence felt rich now, full of possibilities. I'd been reminded that connection doesn't require romance or family bonds. Sometimes it's simply about recognition, about seeing and being seen by another human being, at exactly the moment when both souls need it most. The experience had awakened something in me I thought I'd lost. The teacher, the mentor, the woman who believed in young minds and dreams. I began volunteering at the library, helping teenagers with their college essays. I started a photography club at the community center, inspired by Sophia's vision. 6 months later, I received a postcard from New York. On the front was one of her photographs, a subway musician surrounded by commuters, all of them caught in a moment of unexpected beauty. On the back, she'd written, "Still seeing, still grateful, still carrying forward what you taught me about the dignity in every story." I pinned it to my bulletin board next to the photograph she'd given me. 2 images that captured the same truth from different angles. The profound impact we can have on each other when we choose to truly see, truly listen, truly connect. There's a particular kind of fulfillment that comes not from being loved, but from loving well. From offering the gift of attention, of recognition, of believing in someone's potential when they've forgotten it exists. It doesn't require grand gestures or permanent commitment. Sometimes it only needs a few months, a willingness to listen, and the courage to see another person as completely as possible. In the quiet of my home, I no longer feel invisible or forgotten. I feel purposeful, connected to the continuing story of human compassion that flows from one generation to the next. Some relationships are meant to last forever, and others are meant to last just long enough to change us both. This was one of the latter, and it was perfect in its own brief, profound way.